Welcome to the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast, where we talk about all things money, mindset, and marketing so your nutrition business can thrive and you can make a bigger impact in the marketplace. I am your host, Dyan, registered dietitian and money mindset expert. Let's get started with today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to our special episode this month in February, where I'm highlighting the voices of Black dietitians for Black History Month. So welcome back. Welcome back to an amazing episode of Make More Money as a Dietitian. This is the place where I'm going to actually give voice to some amazing Black dietitians in our profession. And this month, you're going to learn more about Kim Rose, dietitian. And this was such a fascinating interview, you guys. I've been secretly following Kim over the years when I found her on YouTube. And when I watched a few of her YouTube channels, I was like, oh my God, she is so smart. Like in the clinical area, if I could have had her mentor me on some of that clinical stuff, I would have been kicking butt and taking names. That's how whip smart she is in clinical. But during this interview, you're going to learn even more about Kim. She's not only smart in the area of clinical, but she's just smart all the way around. You're going to learn some really good things, and hopefully you'll extract some fantastic wisdom nuggets that you can use for yourself. Now, before we get into the interview, I just want to let you know a little bit more about Kim, and I'm going to read her professional bio to you. Kim Rose is a Florida-based dietitian and nutritionist who specializes in health and wellness concerns for underserved populations. Her inclusive approach and philosophy revolve around making nutrition easy and attainable. Kim does this by addressing common and complex food and wellness topics for the general public and health professionals alike on her YouTube channel and contributing to multiple media outlets, including Healthline, HuffPost, and Health Magazine, just to name a few. Kim has close to a decade of professional experience and dedicates her time in counseling clients she dedicates her time counseling clients in her private practice. She recently co-founded the Nutrition Lifestyles with Kim and Joanne, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, podcast that is designed to educate and excite conversations in women's health and issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. You guys, you're in for a treat with Kim. Not only is she whip smart, but she is super fun. And like I said, I think you're going to take away some really good wisdom nuggets here. So let's go ahead and get started with the episode with Kim Rose, dietitian. All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Make More Money as a Dietitian. And today we have another guest, you guys. We have Miss Kim Rose with us today. And before I hit record, I was letting Kim know that I've been following her for some time on her YouTube channel. If you know Kim Rose, you already know that she is a powerhouse when it comes to clinical, and she has a really awesome YouTube channel. But Kim is here today to talk to us about something a little different. She wants to talk to us about collaborating with brands and how you can really get yourself out there. So I just want to say welcome, Kim. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Christine. This is definitely a pleasure. I've listened to your podcast in the past, and I was like,
Mm.
When you reached out, I was like, okay.
Yes, this is so good. I just want to say that I really love collaborating with dietitians of color and Black dietitians specifically because we are a very small knit group.
Right.
And this month, I'm really highlighting what my Black dietitians are doing and supporting our community by really letting people see how we're serving our communities and doing work in this profession. And so yeah, let's get at this. I would love to start with you just telling me and everyone out there about how you actually got started in this field in the first place.
Oh my goodness. This is a long story. So I'm going to give you guys like the condensed version.
Mm-hmm.
So, born in Jamaica, family migrated to the United States when I was small, but I still have that accent every now and then. So
Mm-hmm.
if you
Mm-hmm.
guys hear a little accent, that's what you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents always told me that I was going to go to school to be an engineer, a nurse, or a doctor. Like if you're from the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, that is like the only three professions that they know. So when I went off to college, I noticed that there were a lot of my friends that were in my like introductory nutrition class and nutrition 101 classes and metabolism 101 that would say that they were on the path to becoming a dietitian. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? Diet who? Diet
Mm-hmm.
what? And I just decided, you know what? This sounds interesting. It's about food, it's about health. I like to eat. Everyone has to eat in order to survive. So let me go ahead and double major. So at the time, I thought I was going to be a physical therapist. Well, first, I thought I was going to be a nurse, then a physical therapist, then a dietitian. So I was double majoring because the paths were very similar at Florida State University, quite
Mm-hmm.
similar. So I got into, the upper level nutrition classes. I took a class called disease and nutrition and it kicked my butt, but
Mm-hmm.
I was just so intrigued by it. And then on top of that, I noticed that I was the only Black girl in the class. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one day, Christine, let me tell you a story. I remember one day I went to class with some braids in my hair. Like, I have natural hair. So when you wash your hair, you just
Mm-hmm.
put it in braids. And I
Mm-hmm.
did not care because I had to rush to class. And a lot of my classmates were like, "Oh wow, how did you do this?" And I'm
Oh my God, here we go with the black hair story. Help us, Lord.
oh, okay. And then, it really opened my eyes that, wow, this field that we say we're all going into may not really be as diverse. So I spoke with my DPD director and I let her know, the track that I was going down. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a physical therapist or a nurse or a dietitian. And she blatantly told me, and I was so happy that she was just raw and real and honest. And she was like, Kim, you're Black. You're kidding me. You're not going to be a dietitian. Do you not know the statistics of dietitians that are of color in the profession, that it's really low? And I'm like, no. And she was like, oh, well, let me educate you. And I was very grateful for that because I'm the type of person, I'm rather upfront. So I don't want people to beat around the bush with me. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
straight, tell me like
Mm-hmm.
it is. And then so when she told me that, I was like, okay, maybe there's something here.
Mm.
So long story short, I decided to go to the route to become a dietitian. Only the Lord knows how I got into the VA because I was broke and I
Oh boy.
I had prayed. I said, Lord, I have no money to pay for any type of internship.
Mm-hmm.
VA, and the VA was all about health disparities,
Oh, okay.
seeing how everything is just being set up little by little by little. And then I happened to pass the RD exam, and
Mm.
I'm here. This is right.
That's so awesome.
I love it.
So when did you officially become a dietitian? When did you pass the exam?
I became a dietitian in 2011, September
Okay.
2011.
Oh, okay. Very good. So awesome. So very great. Man, as Black dietitians, we have a very similar story a lot of times I've noticed, and it seems like it's almost part of the curriculum, unfortunately. Because even for me, and I've been around, I graduated in 92. Okay. So I had a very similar story where I started out college thinking that I was going to be an OBGYN, and then I quickly decided that that wasn't the path for me.
Mhm.
Found dietetics, but when I spoke with the counselor, she was like, "Are you sure that you don't want to do hotel and restaurant management, which was a
Mhm.
part of the home economics department at that time?"
Mhm.
She says, "Because dietetics is really hard." And I was like,
Mhm.
"No, that's not what I came to you for, hotel and restaurant management." And I too was the only black woman in my class.
Mhm.
And I just happened to have gosh, what class was that? She taught, it was one of the advanced nutrition classes. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but we had to take a whole year of it, whatever it was. And was it nutrition science maybe? But anyway, she was from Egypt.
Oh.
So her name was Dr. Sophie Boutros. Dr. Boutros was old then, so she may not be with us anymore. I would be surprised if she is. If she is, she's living a really good life. However, she was really hard on me though. And
Mhm.
I just couldn't understand. I was like, why is this lady so mean to me? She was already mean, but
Right.
she was really mean, just really hard on me. And so one day after class, after everyone left, she pulled me aside. She says, she had her little Egyptian accent with the rolling of the tongue and all of that. And she said to me, "Christine, I just want you to know why
Mm.
you may think that I'm hard on you. And it's because you're the only black girl in this class. And
Mm.
I want you to succeed. You're
Right.
going to succeed no matter what." And I was like,
Nice.
somebody really cares about me. So, um, thanks to Dr. Boutros, I am here today. So, yay. I know that we all have stories of that one person who really just carried us through, that one person that believed in us enough to
Right.
keep us steadfast and moving forward. So, it
Exactly.
it sounds like you had that one person too, and that's so great. I love that.
Nice.
So, when you went into after you passed the exam, what was your first job? What exactly did you do?
So after actually I started working as a clinical dietitian prior to passing the exam. Because
Wow. Okay.
where I live in Florida is a very retired area.
Mm-hmm.
I say the only things that you see are orange groves and cows.
Mm,
So
mm,
they needed a dietitian because the dietitian was retiring, and there was at the time hardly anyone here. So I was a dietitian, a clinical inpatient dietitian for 3 months.
mm-hmm.
And that is still my full time to this day at an acute care hospital. So clinical dietetics will always have a special place in my heart. And the reason why
Mm.
I say that is because I feel like I have transformed the culture of
Yes.
hospital. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if there is a pulmonologist or a nephrologist or a interventionalist that wants to change like a tube feeding or a TPN or a diet order, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, you
Yeah.
that's that with me. So,
Yeah.
no, I have like drilled into them. I'm the nutrition expert. Your license does not cover this.
Oh, so good. Look at you go, girl. You
Oh, I
go.
have to definitely. And the reason why I do that is because I realize a lot of new dietitians, they're afraid of doctors.
Mm.
They're afraid of nurse practitioners and nurses, but we are the ones who are the nutrition expert. So
Yeah.
in my hospital, when they see Kim, Kim is not mean, but she's crossing her T's, she's dotting her I's. She's quoting
Yeah.
C's and procedure book to you. She's quoting
Wow.
Aspen. She's quoting Society of Critical Care and Medicine to you. Because
Yeah.
I know a dietitian that comes after me, you guys are going to have to respect that dietitian.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's so good. I love that. You're setting, so what you're saying is you are setting the tone
Right.
for any future dietitian that comes in your place. And also like not only for the staff
Mm,
and the physicians and all the ancillary staff, but for the dietitian too.
yeah. For the,
Like that dietitian is really gonna have to step up her game. She can't be Miss, quiet as a mouse and let everybody, walk all over her type of dietitian. She has to be someone who has very similar work ethic as you do. So that's going to be important. And hopefully, if and when you do decide to leave, hopefully you'll be a part of the hiring process.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, I really hope that.
Yeah, I was that dietitian initially. That was like quiet as a mouse and afraid to speak or say anything. But when I saw how that impacted my patients, I was like, that
Oh,
Kim,
wow.
that Kim has to go somewhere. You
Yeah.
have to be a patient advocate. You have to speak up for
Mm,
your patients because they're sick, they're vulnerable. They can't do that for themselves. And something that I always say, I always let my doctors know this too. Like, yeah, you guys can prescribe all the medications you want, but if you put the medication in a body that is not properly nourished, how can you expect the body to function? Just like a car. A car can look so good on the outside, but if
mhm.
that car does not have gasoline, aka nutrition, you know,
Mhm.
preaching to the choir, Christine.
Yeah, yeah, but still, I mean, I think there's still some dietitians out there that really need to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love that you're such an advocate for clinical work. I mean, I I work so deeply in the realm of entrepreneurship that this is so refreshing to hear you talk about the clinical work. And I know we're going to be talking about brands in a minute as well, but this is so good for the clinical dietitians out there that don't want to be entrepreneurs, that really just love clinical and want to stay in that realm. And I'm all for that too, because I tell people, look, entrepreneurship is not no easier than being employed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you just have to be your own boss and you have to be the employee at the same time, and that is hard.
It is.
That is not easy. So whatever your RD path is, as long as you're like truly passionate about it, that's what matters the most. And I love um, not only how passionate you are about the clinical, but how good you are at it and how proficient you are and how you're a patient advocate. And that says a lot for you and just for how dietitians operate. Now, do you have order writing privileges where you work?
I do. Yes, I do.
That's so awesome. Oh, they see, look, it's come a long way because man, when I came out, that was another reason why I just couldn't do it. I was like, I've done all this training. I can't even write an order for insure. Are you serious? Or at least the bottom of the barrel is insured, right? So I can't even write an order for that. Are you kidding me? So
Right.
I think that that is really awesome as well. So good. Congratulations. I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about what you're here for today, which is to talk about collaborating with brands.
Yes.
Now, let's give our listeners a little bit of the backstory as to how you got there, because now we're it's almost like we're on the whole opposite end of the spectrum from what we were just talking about, which was clinical work. But take us on a little bit of a journey as to how you got to this brand collaboration
Okay.
venture.
Okay. So, whew, I'm getting excited, Christine. I'm getting excited.
Yay.
So, okay, so you guys know I'm definitely passionate about clinical. So, because of clinical, I decided to start my YouTube channel
Mm-hmm.
because when I was a dietetic intern, I just about almost dropped out
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? Like, what in the world is going on here? I don't understand anything that's going on. So, decided to go to YouTube and I could not find not one dietitian that was more in the clinical space. Like I found dietitians that were speaking about here's how you cook whatever, or look at this makeup, or look at this essential oil. But I'm like, this is not going to help me get through my clinicals so that I can sit and take my RD exam.
Mm-hmm.
So after I became a dietitian, I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and start giving back to my community for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making videos as imperfect as they were.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my videos now, brands started saying, like, okay, she's a dietitian. She's a dietitian nutritionist. She's not a nutritionist, she's a dietitian. Then on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, she is a certified diabetes care and education specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, different companies started reaching out. One company that reached out was Healthline. Um,
Oh, nice.
well, Kim, we like what we see on your YouTube channel. Even though my YouTube channel at the time was specifically made for dietetic interns, they
Mm-hmm.
said they liked the way in which I present. They said they liked my speaking voice. They said they liked my whole entire persona. So they said,
Mm-hmm.
can we collaborate with you to make a series of videos for us? And that was one of the first ventures. The second venture, which is still in the works, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but I just thought it was amazing. Food Network.
That's so good.
Food Network reached out and they're like, "Hey, Kim, we saw your YouTube videos and we are impressed by what we see. Can
Mm,
you XYZ?" Which is still in the works at this time. Even if it doesn't fall through, I still think that it is a good avenue, because I'm realizing, like, hey, dietetic interns aren't the only ones that are seeing my videos. These
right.
major companies and major brands are seeing them as well. And that
Mm-hmm.
was really only two of the main major brands. So
Mm-hmm.
then, because of YouTube, then I transitioned over onto Instagram. And Instagram is not my favorite platform.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube will still always be near and dear because YouTube is not NOT saturated with dietitians like Instagram is. So
Okay.
sometimes you feel like you're the only one raising that dietitian flag.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube versus Instagram, you have, more of your comrades. There's more of a community and a
Mm-hmm.
society. So over on Instagram, a few companies saw me as well. General Mills, they're like,
Okay.
hey, and it's so interesting because I didn't even realize that it was General Mills at the time.
Okay.
I started getting on phone calls with them and doing a whole bunch of Zoom calls. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, I'm a General Mills lawyer, and we just want to, ask you about this presentation and making sure that we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's. And I'm like, oh,
Yay.
okay.
So fun. So fun. I love that.
Fun. So it's really about, putting yourself out there. So even though I did start out in the clinical space, which will always be near and dear to my heart,
Mm-hmm.
yourself out there on social media, having your voice be that voice that is advocating for your community. Not only will your community see it, but
Mm-hmm.
also some of these larger brands. So that's really how I got into the brand work. By no means am I an expert at it. I'm still,
Mm-hmm.
navigating and treading the waters, but that is really the beginning.
Yeah. And it sounds like what I'm really hearing you the underpinning of what you're saying is being consistent on one platform has led you to gain some visibility
Correct.
by different brands that you weren't even trying to
No, ma'am.
reach out to or anything like that. So consistency is key, I believe.
Correct. And something else that I did want to say as well, especially to dietitians, because a lot of times we like to play the comparison game and the numbers game. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
how much followings do we have? How many likes? How many
Mm,
views? And those things can really be discouraging and they can trap you mentally to think that you are not meant to be a dietitian, that
mm-hmm.
someone else is meant to be a dietitian, someone else that may have a lighter skin complexion, or someone else that, may have a different physique. But,
Mm-hmm.
something that I did want to say is definitely by me reaching out to brands initially, a lot of these brands told me no, like, no, you don't have the numbers. No, we already have our dietitian quota for the year.
Oh my God.
It allowed those no's allowed me to be open for Healthline and for General Mills and also for possibly Food Network. So those no's were a stepping stone for me. So
Yeah.
basically say that to say, for any dietitian listening to this, especially dietitians that are marginalized, dietitians of color, because we make up such a small portion of the field of nutrition and dietetics. So it's harder for companies to find us because we're outshined. Definitely take those no's as a stepping stone and keep pushing, pushing, and being consistent and tenacious.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I love this because it's really important that we are um, steadfast and being okay with no. And as I was mentioning to you before we even started the recording, um, even for myself, it took me a little while to get okay with no's. And what I've learned over time and through the proper mentorship
Hmm.
is that the more no's you get, the closer you are to having yeses. And so we have to be okay with no's. It's easier to count no's than yet the yeses, because if you only focus on the yeses and they're few and far between, it can be discouraging. So when you focus on the no's,
Mm,
and are excited about the no's, actually,
mm,
just imagine. And your excitement isn't about getting the no. Your excitement is knowing that that no is leading you closer to the yes,
right.
right? So when you start counting your no's, when you really are saying, oh my God, yes, I've had 25 no's, that means a yes has to be coming, you
Right.
know. So when we think about it from that perspective, and we are acting as if it's right up the street, so to speak,
Hmm.
then we can stay steadfast and tenacious, like you were saying. I love that. I think that is such an important message for everyone to hear. And for our dietitians of color, and specifically the Black dietitians out there, I think it's really important because we are a smaller percentage
Hmm.
of dietitian practitioners in general in the whole profession. It's really important that you do stay consistent, persistent, and
Hmm.
steadfast, because our communities need us the most, because the health disparities that are out there sometimes require us to step up
Right.
in a role, and deal with our communities in a way that only we know how to do effectively. So,
Exactly.
and I just wanted to like encourage Black dietitians specifically to stay the course. You've done all of the work, or maybe you're an RD to be and you're doing the work right now. It's so important for you to not get discouraged, okay? Or even if you do get discouraged, because it can be discouraging from time to time, keep your eye on the prize. Stay committed to what you really went into this profession for in the first place. And you will succeed over time, because I think, like, with the way things are out there right now in the online marketing world,
Hmm.
we are led to believe that everything happens overnight, or seemingly overnight. Everything is 90 days to this, 60 days to that. You got 28 days, this and that. And it's like, no, it actually takes a heck of a lot longer than that. We have to stay committed to the entire journey, which could be a lifelong thing. That's why we chose the career in the first place, because we wanted a lifelong career, not just a microwave one, you know?
I agree. Well,
So stay committed, you guys. Stay committed to your goal. Stay committed to why you came into this profession in the first place. And with consistency, just like Kim, you guys can create something really beautiful and start collaborating with brands. Even if that's not your goal, you'll be surprised at what and who will start to reach out to you. You'll be super, super surprised.
yeah.
So, with that, Kim, I really wanted to also talk to you about money. Let's talk about money a little bit, because this is the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. And right now, you have your, it sounds like you have a few things going on, right? You have your job, right?
Yes.
And, and are you still creating on YouTube? You have your YouTube channel still?
Creating on YouTube. Uh-huh. Not
Okay.
as frequently, but I'm still there.
Okay, good. So you have your job full time, you have your YouTube channel, and what else do you have in the pipe? I would rather you share.
Sure. So I have my full-time job at the hospital. I have my YouTube channel. I have my private practice.
Mm,
And currently at this time, um, there is a lot of presentations I'm doing behind the scenes, whether it's a presentation for a brand on food and nutrition, or if it's a presentation for dietetic interns at different universities.
mm-hmm.
So that is really what is on my plate this time. And I think by 2020, 2021, I'm getting to be a pro of balancing everything.
Okay, very good. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think for some of us, it's important that we have different things going on, because the monotony of just one thing, ho hum, can be just a killer.
Right.
So, at least that's how I felt when I was working a job. I was just like, oh my God, I got to do something else, because this is literally boring. It's really just killing me. So I get that. So with the talk around money, what I really would love to hear from you is, why do you feel like most dietitians, especially since you're working in the clinical space, I'd love to hear you talk about this from the clinical space. Why do you think there is such a cap
Uh-huh.
on the incomes for dietitians in traditional roles?
Well, I think it's because they don't negotiate, number one, in traditional roles. Like when I speak to other dietitians that are doing the same exact job as I am, and we share salaries, and I'm like, but hold up, you making 30,000 less than me. Why is that?
Mm, mm.
You didn't negotiate. You did not negotiate.
Yeah.
You didn't tap into that. You just took the first, maybe I don't know, but the dietitians I've spoken to, you took the first offer that came on the table. You didn't tell them what expertise you had. I remember even there was a where I live in Florida. There's two hospitals in my area, and they're 7 minutes apart, literally
Mm,
7
mm-hmm,
minutes drive apart.
mm-hmm,
So the hospital where I do not work wanted me to come over there, and they wanted to give me a very like slap on the wrist salary.
mm,
And they said, well, we just don't have the budget. And the last dietitian made this. And I said, that's not my problem if he or she chose to make that. They did
mm,
not negotiate their salary. And I said, if you guys want me to come over here, this is the amount that you guys have to pay me.
mm-hmm.
They weren't willing to bend, and neither was I. So you know what? I stuck with my job that I currently
Okay.
have because they were willing to pay me that salary. So I think
Okay.
about negotiation, not realizing their value, not realizing their worth, and just settling because hey, we all have bills to pay at the end of the day. But something
Absolutely.
I encourage people to do is yearly on your yearly evaluation, show what you bring to the table. Show
Right.
that patient satisfaction scores. Show how you improved reimbursement for the hospital by identifying malnutrition, which is a
Mm,
multi-million dollar industry. Show
yes.
that and track your numbers. So if you don't have anything tangible in a Microsoft Excel file or a Word file or a spreadsheet that you can show them, well, hey, this is my financial impact, then they're
Mm,
going to keep you at pennies. They're going to,
yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So 1000% yes. Okay. We have to learn how to negotiate our salaries and not feel like it, like, what they offered is all they will offer because you just don't know that.
mm-hmm,
Um, and they might say no, and that is okay.
right.
If they say no and you can afford to move on and find something else, fine. If they say no and you're willing to stick around for a little while at that particular salary and
Mm-hmm,
really prove yourself, and then when it's time to, have that performance evaluation, you have to revisit your salary again, you can do that. There's so many options. I feel like um I've seen many conversations, let me put it that way, where dietitians are like, oh, well, other dietitians need to stop accepting these low paying jobs and da 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 da. And I think that that is really not the right way to go about it. First of all, I don't think that we should try to tell anybody what to do
right.
as far as their career path and what jobs they should and shouldn't choose, because we all have our own individual lives that we have to take into consideration as well. Okay.
Mhm.
But what I will say, and I know that you agree because you just said this, is that it would be highly beneficial to learn how to negotiate your salary. And
Correct.
if you are a dietitian who has given a presentation in the past, and all of us have had to do that at one point in time, whether it was in your internship or maybe you did it in your local community, you could have done it in undergrad. You have done a PowerPoint presentation before.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have stood up in front of a group of people and talked about a specific topic. And there's no better topic to talk about than yourself and what your contribution has been to the department and to the hospital facility as a whole, and why you deserve to have a raise. There's no better topic to talk about. And if you're really passionate about clinical work,
Mm-hmm.
which I do know that there's so many more of you all that are out there that are truly passionate about clinical work and being there for the patients, then bring that same passion into speaking up for yourself. I want to provide a resource
Mm-hmm.
for all of you listening who often have a question about how to negotiate your rates. There's a book that was brought to my attention, and I actually am going to include this book in my book club that is in my Embody Academy. We're going to be reading a book called Never Split the Difference
Mm,
by Chris Voss. Chris Voss, V as in Victor, OSS, excuse me, two S's. So, Never Split the Difference is, I haven't read it yet, but it's supposed to be a book on negotiation, negotiating salaries or anything else. So, if you really are committed to your career as a dietitian and you want to make more money and you want to stay in clinical in one way or another, it is important for you to learn how to negotiate your rate. So
correct.
check out that book, Never Split the Difference. It's something that you probably would benefit from. So there. Thank me later.
You know what, Christine, while you were speaking, something just occurred to me
Hmm.
that people listening may not know at what critical points to negotiate renegotiate their salaries. So
Mm,
yes, it's every year with your evaluation, but there's also certain critical points. So prior to me becoming a dietitian, I was working a clinical job, RD eligible, RDE.
okay.
After I became a dietitian and passed the exam, bam, right there, I renegotiated my salary.
Oh, yes.
Then, after getting my certifications as a diabetes educator, nutrition support clinician, I
Mm.
renegotiated again
Look at you, girl. You go.
twice, two different
Hmm.
twice. Because I'm like, hey, I'm the only certified diabetes educator in the hospital.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So no nurses.
None,
Wow.
zero, zip, zilch. And then again, every year, and then also with every time I realized that they want to give dietitians training to work with coders and roll out malnutrition reimbursement tools and have your notes to be integrated with the physicians. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? That means in my head, ding, 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 there's more money for the company. So let me just make up this little PowerPoint and make up this little Excel draft sheet, and I'm gonna show you my contributions because I
Mm.
am tracking numbers.
Yes.
And an easy way to track numbers, guys, is there's something that all hospitals have to do for the Joint Commission, which is called a quality analysis performance improvement.
Mm.
Make your quality analysis performance improvement all about malnutrition because malnutrition
Mm.
high reimbursement and it has reimbursement for the hospital and possibly for you if you track those numbers properly. There was one dietitian in the Southeast. She was the only dietitian. She tracked her numbers. She herself made the hospital $1 million and was able to hire another FTE in the department
Oh, wow. Look at that.
simply because she tracked her numbers. So when she told me that, I said, oh, okay.
It was time for you to start doing some tracking of your own, of course.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is so good. Look at you dropping the gems today. This is so good. Oh my God, I'm almost feeling like I'm being taken back in time, almost like to my clinical days when I really did enjoy clinical because, as I said,
Hmm.
my initial major was pre-med, so of course I had to have some sort of love for the clinical work. But yeah, this is so good. Just, you guys, think about what your career as a dietitian would be like if you could, if you really loved clinical work and you could stay in it and make up money doing so. And I think that that is a possibility. What It may not be a possibility in every single facility that is here in the United States or elsewhere, right?
Right.
Because each facility has their own unique budgets, okay? But there is absolutely nothing wrong with you trying, okay?
Right. There isn't.
There is nothing wrong with you trying. I think part of the reason why some people don't want to try is because they don't want to be rejected.
Right. And we eat no for breakfast. Like Kamala
Hey, come
Harris.
on, come on. Let's talk about Kamala Harris when she said that. Come on, tell me a little bit because I let me preface this by saying that I really have not turned my television on for the past almost 6 weeks. So tell me what she said.
So basically she was talking about her path to becoming to doing what she's doing now and how she was turned down multiple times, multiple opportunities. And she basically said that she ate no for breakfast to mean that she took people's no's as a stepping stone to continue to push further. So when I heard her say that, I said, okay, you know what? I like it. It's giving me motivation and let me continue with it. So I want to give like a little scenario. So it was about when I was a new dietitian 9.5 years ago. I realized that, hey, I was working weekends and the nursing staff that was working weekends was getting a weekend differential, like a $2.14 per hour weekend differential.
Mm.
And I said, why am I not getting that? There's more nurses than there are dietitians in my facility. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to my director. He said, Kim, my hands are tied. You got to go to HR. So what did Kim do? Kim went to HR and
Of
asked
course.
and continued to ask HR over and over and over again until HR said, you know what, we got something for you. I think maybe you may like it. And that year, even though I was still a new dietitian, only 7 months in as an RD, I got a
Mm.
$5,000 per year raise.
Wow, that's amazing.
That, my blessings are the same as everyone, but one thing is for sure, be tenacious. If
Yes.
closes, another door will open. You just got to find the loopholes and look and listen and find, okay, well, if Sally Jane is over here saying she getting $2.14 and we both work on Saturdays and Sundays, why am I not getting $2.14?
Right. So, how did you approach HR? Because I think that's probably a question that some listeners may be pondering, because I know that's the question that I'm thinking. Like, how did you go about? Did you just keep knocking on the door talking about it's me again?
Oh,
What did you do?
let me tell you. So, the first thing that I always do, and I am a very shy person. It doesn't seem like it on the podcast, but if you meet me in person, I'm very shy, I'm very reserved, I'm very observant.
Mm-hmm.
The few figures in my hospital setting that I make sure I'm friends with.
Mm.
I make sure I'm friends with the hospitalist, with the HR director, with my department director,
Mm-hmm.
and with the CNO, the chief nurse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no doubt.
So a lot of times you'll see me like, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring you some milk and cookies today. How was your day? Everything all right?
Mm-hmm.
Small
Mm-hmm.
talk, because I know I need these big hitters in my corner eventually for something
Oh,
that's
that's so smart.
so I made friends with the HR director. And when I found out about the differential, it was so easy for me to approach him because I didn't have to make an appointment because I was already going to his office and like, hey, John, I got you some cookies. I got you some milk because
Mm-hmm.
cookies and milk, food, food goes
Yes.
a long way. Food
Yes.
goes a long way. So
Yes.
his office and I was like, you know what? I want to show you some appreciation. Here's some cookies and milk and, small talk. And I was like, oh, let me ask you this question. I started realizing, from working the weekends that the nurses get a differential, pay differential. Why don't I get that differential? And he couldn't answer me why. There was no
Mm.
legitimate reason why. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, can you look into that for me? Because I don't think it's fair because there's so many more nurses compared to dietitians.
Mm.
Know what, Kim, I'm going to look at it for you. And then I gave him a 2 weeks, came back with some more milk and cookies,
Yeah.
have a little small talk, and then eventually, he spoke to the powers that be, and then they conceded. So it's really about finding who the movers and shakers are,
Mm-hmm.
little community, and just being friends, offering, food,
Mm.
especially during this time. It's a high stressful time, and food is a comfort for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
offering food.
Okay, look. So this goes in alignment with my way of living and doing business, which is building relationships.
Yep.
Building relationships with people. Okay, so this is the same. Y'all, listen to this. As I was listening to Kim speak, my little brain started doing all kinds of firing off. Okay. So I was immediately reminded of how it's very similar in the entrepreneurial world
Mhm.
and in traditional hospital setting.
Right.
You still have to build relationships.
Yep.
If you want to make more money as a dietitian, first and foremost, build relationships.
Yep.
If you're working in a traditional setting, build relationships with the people that you know are going to be in charge of your
Yes.
everything,
Cool.
okay? Your livelihood. build relationships with those people in a very authentic way. Okay. Build relationships, have conversations. Um, you don't have to be so stuffy all the time. You
Mm-mm,
know,
mm.
be yourself even when you're at work, so that when it's time for you to ask for something, it'll be a much easier ask because it'll be as if you're talking to someone that you talk to on a regular basis anyway,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And then on the entrepreneurial side of things, marketing is all about building relationships, y'all. If you're not good at building relationships, then you're not good at marketing, because that really is a huge part of marketing. That is the way I market. I market by building relationships. I don't do ads and funnels and all of those things at this time in my business. Maybe I will later on down the line if I want to have something that's evergreen and just on rotation. But right now, I'm showing up and I'm building relationships with people. I'm happy to hop on a Zoom call with someone who's interested in working with me first, but um, they want to have a conversation with me first before they spend all this money. I'm more than happy to hop on a Zoom call with you. Heck yeah.
Right.
Let's do this, because I don't want you to sign up to work with me and then 60 to 90 days in you're like, "Oh, well, I don't know if this is right." No. And the same for my academy. I hopped on a Zoom call with someone who had questions before enrolling.
Hmm.
Cool. Let's do this. Build relationships if you want to make more money as a
Right.
dietitian. I love what you're saying. So
Right.
awesome. Oh my
Really
God.
applies to brands as well. Like when I'm doing brand work,
Mm-hmm.
even though sometimes it's a pain, I always let them know, like, hey, if you need me to reshoot anything or re record anything, let's do it. And
Mm-hmm.
every single last brand I have worked with has taken me up on that offer. And you know what you do? You
Mm.
let them know, like, you know what? Because I know that you guys want A plus work. So I'm going to provide you A plus work, even if I have to
Yes.
reshoot and redo things over and over again. And then
Mm-hmm.
you know what that does? That enables them to see, like, hey, so and so is easy to work with. Let
Mm-hmm.
me come back in the future, which will secure your coins. It's
Yes. Yes.
coins. So
It.
again, it's that
Mm-hmm.
relationship, as you said.
It secures the coins. It secures the relationship,
Hmm.
and they can also refer you to other brands too. You just never know,
Exactly.
right? I just, if you know, when you say easy to work with, to me, what that translates as someone who has a good work ethic,
Right.
someone who's just not out here to make a quick buck, or someone who just wants to throw something together real quick and move on to the next. Like having a really good work ethic is super important too. And I translate that also as providing tremendous value.
Right.
So awesome. Well, this has been so awesome today. And then one last thing that I really want to ask you is if there's one nugget of wisdom, you've given some good ones, but if you have one more left in you, uh,
Uh-huh.
that you would like to share with the people out there on how to make more money as a dietitian,
Uh-huh.
no matter what path they're on, whether it's entrepreneurial or traditional, because you're doing both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing that you would like to leave them with?
Self-discipline.
Mm.
Self-discipline, guys. You're gonna have to sacrifice. People always ask me, well, Kim, you're doing a lot. How do you find time to do everything that you do? And I
Mhm.
always say, you know what, I was raised by a father who was in the military, so there's a lot of self-discipline there. But
Mm.
you have to basically find out, what's most important to you. So staying consistent on whatever social media platform or whatever relationships that you're building with people over Zoom or people in real life, it's really about consistency and having self-discipline to execute the things that you want to do and also to reach your goals. So
Mm.
those are really the main two things that I can point out in my personal walk that have been successful for me. So self-discipline and consistency, they don't cost anything. They just cost a little bit of sacrifice. So you may have to stop watching your favorite Netflix movie,
Mhm. Mhm.
see that, the whole entire COVID. But yeah, those are the honest and true two things.
I love it. And I'll just leave with this, because sometimes we can have a little mind trash around the word discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It can take on a negative connotation. And so I want to reframe that for you guys who don't like the word discipline because it feels hard and it feels rough and we think of the boot camp guy. But I always say that discipline is nothing but being a disciple
Mm,
to yourself.
love that.
So if you can commit to being a disciple to yourself, you got it made. You're in there.
Nice.
You can make more money as a dietitian, my friends. I just want you to know that. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to invest in yourself, whether it's with financial resources or time or energy. And you have to trust the process.
Mm,
And when you do those three things, in addition to having some self discipline, you're on your way. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Kim. I really appreciated having you on. This was so good. Oh, my goodness. I'm just so blessed to be able to support the dietitians out there that really do still love the traditional work, the clinical work. And
right.
then maybe, you want to dabble in a little brand work, and that's cool too,
Mm,
because I think the brands really need more of us collaborating with them. So wonderful speaking with you today, and
thank
have a great rest of your week. All
thank
right.
you.
All righty. Hey, if you want to learn how you can make more money as a dietitian and stand out from the crowd, I want to invite you to check out my new membership program, Embody Academy. Just head on over to moneymindsetdietitian.com/trial offer. Again, that's moneymindsetdietitian.com/trial offer so you can test drive the Academy for 14 days. I'd love to see your name on the roster and help you make more money as a dietitian.